There are moments in life when the river seems to have forgotten how to flow, when the stillness feels eternal, and the air grows heavy with unanswered prayers. Yet, beneath that quiet surface, the current is alive, rearranging pebbles, carving unseen paths toward abundance. The divine does not shout. It whispers through timing, through coincidence, through what seems like delay. Every challenge, every pause, every longing, they are not mistakes, but movements in the grand choreography of existence. What if the scarcity you felt was not absence, but preparation? What if the silence was God tuning the strings of your life for a new melody of provision? For there comes a time, subtle, sacred, and unstoppable, when the unseen becomes seen, when divine help descends not as a miracle from above, but as a realization within. And in that instant, you understand, you were never waiting for God. God was waiting for you to see. Here are 6 profound and reflective key points designed in harmony with your early on committee afterwards. 5 1. The divine economy of life. Nothing is ever wasted. Every loss, every delay, and every detour has been an investment in your unseen future. The universe is not withholding, it's aligning. The soil must first break before the seed can rise, so too must we be stretched before divine provision flows. 2. The sacred currency of trust. True wealth begins not in the bank, but in the spirit. In the spirit. When you learn to rest in divine timing, you enter the economy of grace, where trust multiplies opportunities faster than fear can destroy them. 3. The hidden movements beneath silence when nothing seems to move. Life is most alive. The silence you fear is often the echo of God rearranging circumstances in your favor. Money, help, and opportunity are already in motion, just beyond your visible horizon. Scarcity is preparation. Scarcity is not punishment. Scarcity is not punishment. It is refinement. It strips illusion, teaches gratitude, and trains your spirit to recognize abundance when it arrives. What you call a lack may be the divine sculpting space for greater flow. 5. The conspiracy of divine timing. There is an exquisite precision in the universe's unfolding, where one small event triggers an unseen cascade of blessings. Help often appears disguised. A conversation, a chance meeting, an inner impulse. Each is a note in the divine symphony orchestrating your elevation. Becoming a conduit for the flow. You were never meant to merely receive divine provision. You are meant to embody it. As you open your heart, generosity becomes your natural language, and through you, God's abundance circulates back into the world. Would you like me to expand each point into poetic Alan Watts-style speech segments? About 500 and 650 words each, like before? You see, life has a way of disguising its generosity. It never hands you abundance wrapped in ribbons. It gives it to you in riddles. The very moments you thought were endings were actually quiet beginnings wearing the mask of loss. There is beneath all the noise and worry a divine economy that never wastes a thing. Every tear, every restless night, every door that closed too soon, they were all transactions in the unseen marketplace of becoming. The currency there is not money, but me. When you look back, have you noticed how certain delays saved you from destruction? How certain rejections redirected you toward the exact space where your gifts could bloom? It is as if some unseen accountant of grace was balancing the books of your soul, subtracting what would diminish you, adding what would refine you. And though it often feels unfair, this is the mathematics of mercy. The divine invests not in what you desire now, but in what you are destined to sustain later. We think we are waiting for life to begin, but life is already happening, just in a deeper register. What you call waiting is often the universe working beneath the visible layer, bridging relationships, moving resources, shifting timelines, so that when the blessing arrives, might collapse under its own weight. You cannot pour divine wealth into a heart still cracked by inclined age. So life waits for you to heal, to mature, to expand your capacity for receiving. And in that waiting, everything has purpose. The delay is the teacher. The detour is the initiation. The drought is the rehearsal for rain. There is a rhythm to it all, but most people cannot hear the music because they are too busy counting the beats. You were not meant to measure time. You were meant to move with it. For every closed chapter carries within it a secret arithmetic, something that was deposited in you while you were mourning what was taken away. Perhaps this is what divine release truly means. Not that money simply falls from the sky, but that you come to see that nothing was ever lost. That what was once withheld was merely being rerouted through a more perfect alignment. The divine never wastes pain. It recycles it into power. Every financial struggle, every moment you felt abandoned, every prayer that echoed unanswered in the dark, these were not the end of your story, but the soil softening for a new root to take hold. And when that provision finally comes, when the unseen becomes visible, you realize it didn't arrive from nowhere. It arrived through everything. Through the nights you thought would break you, through the people who left, through the very experiences you once cursed. They were all ingredients in the alchemy of your becoming. You begin to see that the universe was not withholding abundance. It was building a version of you who could live in harmony with it. Money, after all, is only one expression of flow. Real wealth is rhythm, the synchronization of your inner world with the outer dance of existence. When that rhythm aligns, provision no longer feels like a miracle. It feels inevitable. For in the grand economy of God, nothing is ever wasted, and every loss is merely the prelude to a richer return. The river may twist, the current may slow, but it never forgets where it's going. And neither should you. Trust is the most valuable currency in the universe, and unlike money, it cannot be earned or stolen. It's the quiet confidence that even when everything looks uncertain, something wiser than your plans is at work. We often think faith is about believing that things will turn out the way we want. But trust is subtler. It's knowing that even if they don't, life will still unfold in harmony with a greater design. It is the art of resting in motion, of knowing that the current knows where it's going even when you do not. We spend so much of our time trying to control outcomes, as if the divine were a vending machine where enough effort, prayer, or discipline guarantees reward. But what if the moment you stop grasping, the very thing you've been reaching for begins to move toward you? The universe seems to have this paradoxical humor. When you chase something too tightly, it runs. When you let it go, it finds its way back. Because trust is not passivity, it is alignment. It is the realization that when you live from fear, you repel flow, and when you live from trust, you become a magnet for grace, you become a magnet. To trust is to believe that provision can emerge from the most unlikely corners, that the same intelligence that orchestrates galaxies can surely arrange your next meal, your next opportunity, your next step. You begin to understand that wealth is not simply stored in banks, but in awareness. The moment you stop doubting the benevolence of existence, life begins to mirror that belief. Because reality in its mysterious way is participatory, it responds to the frequency of your heart. The sacred economy of trust never deals in panic. It knows timing. It knows rhythm. The one who trusts radiates calm, and that calm attracts provision like gravity draws a falling leaf. You can feel it in people who walk with quiet certainty. They don't chase, they don't grasp, and yet doors open for them as if the universe were conspiring in their favor. And maybe it is. For because when you trust, you are no longer swimming against the current, you become one with its movement. There are moments, of course, when this trust is tested, but when the account runs dry, when the plan collapses, when every voice in your mind screams that you've been forgotten. But these are not signs of abandonment. They are invitations to deepen your knowing. You are being asked to trust not the evidence, but the essence. To see that true wealth begins long before you ever touch it, because it's born in the unseen, the heart that refuses to fear, the spirit that refuses to fold. When you reach that place, something extraordinary happens. Money no longer feels like security. It becomes a servant to your purpose, a reflection of your inner harmony. You stop asking, where will it come from? And start realizing it was already here, waiting for me to match its frequency. That's when doors appear where walls once stood, and opportunities arise not from effort, but from ease. The truth is, the divine does not reward trust, it flows through it. Trust is not a strategy. It's a state of being, a return to your natural rhythm. And once you dwell there, you begin to experience the world not as a battlefield of scarcity, but as a living organism endlessly nourishing its own. The cost does not chase miracles. He simply stands still long enough to see that he is already in one. There is a strange beauty in silence, the kind that hums beneath the surface of stillness, carrying messages we are too restless to hear. We often mistake silence for absence, stillness for stagnation, and waiting for being forgotten. Yet the truth is quite the opposite. When nothing seems to move, life is most alive. Beneath the apparent quiet, invisible hands are weaving, aligning, and preparing. The silence you fear is not a void. It's the sound of creation rearranging itself on your behalf. It is easy to trust when things are happening, when the phone rings, when money flows, when opportunity knocks. But the deeper test comes when everything falls still. It's in those quiet stretches where your spirit is refined, where you learn to stop searching for signs and begin listening for whispers. The divine does not always announce its movements with thunder. Sometimes it slips softly between moments, adjusting the scenery of your destiny without your knowing. Think of the seed buried beneath the soil. From the surface, it looks as though nothing is happening. The ground is plain, the field unchanged. But beneath that still earth, roots are pushing through darkness, seeking light, rearranging life in hidden ways. If the seed could panic, it might think the gardener had abandoned it. But that silence, that darkness, is precisely where transformation takes root. You, too, are that seed, and every season of quiet is your invitation to trust the unseen rhythm working below the surface of your life. We are conditioned to measure progress by motion, to believe that what we can see is all that's real. But the unseen world is far more alive than the visible one. When you feel nothing is happening, remember, the universe is most active in the unseen layer. The call you're waiting for, the money you need, the person destined to help you, they are already moving, already being guided toward you through a network of invisible connections. What looks like delay is simply divine precision at work. Sometimes silence feels cruel because it confronts us with ourselves. It strips away the distractions, the noise, the constant motion that keeps us from hearing our own heartbeat. But in that quiet, you begin to see that help is not coming to you, it's rising through you. It's awakening within your awareness, sharpening your intuition, teaching you how to perceive the subtle threads of divine coordination that are always present. The silence becomes not an emptiness, but a teacher, one that asks you to trust that the orchestration of your life does not require your constant interference. You might not see the connections forming right now, but they are. You might not see the doors being built for you, but they are being crafted just beyond your perception. Every pause, every lull, every moment where you wonder if you've been forgotten, those are sacred spaces in which the divine prepares your next arrival. The universe never moves in haste, but always in harmony. When you learn to rest in that, you stop asking a when and start sensing a now. And the quiet your spirit aligns with the rhythm of creation itself. You begin to sense that even when you can't hear the music, the song continues. You are part of that song, and the pauses, the silences between the notes, are just as important as the melody. Without them, the music would lose its meaning. So when the silence stretches, do not be disheartened. Something vast and beautiful is forming beyond your... Life is not punishing you. It's perfecting the timing of your unfolding. And when the stillness finally gives way to movement, you will see that nothing was idle at all. It was only sacred preparation in disguise. Because what feels like silence is not the absence of God's voice. It is the sound of Him building the bridge beneath your next step. Scarcity is a strange illusion. It has a way of convincing us that we are incomplete, that something essential is missing, that abundance exists somewhere far away, just out of reach, out of reach. Yet in the deeper sense, scarcity is not a punishment, but a mirror. It shows us where our attachments lie, where our trust falters, and where our sense of worth has become entangled with external things. What you call lack is often life's most profound form of preparation. It is the gentle dismantling of illusions that must crumble before real wealth can take root. When everything feels stripped away, when your hands feel empty, and when nothing seems to be working, that is often the exact moment when your inner foundation is being rebuilt. Scarcity clears the stage. It removes distractions, false securities, the fragile identities we cling to. It's as though life is saying, before I give you more, let me show you what you already are. Because abundance that rests upon insecurity can never last. The vessel must be strengthened before it can hold the flood. Think of how a forest burns before new life emerges. The fire is not cruelty, it's renewal. It clears the dead wood, it enriches the soil, it makes space for something that could not have grown otherwise. Scarcity works the same way. It purifies the field of your mind, burning away dependency, fear, and the old stories that whisper you are not enough. In its quiet devastation, It teaches resilience, gratitude, and awareness of the subtle richness always present in your life. We live in a culture that treats lack as failure, that tells us we must always be increasing, expanding, consuming. But real expansion doesn't begin when you acquire. It begins when you release, when you stop trying to fill the void and start realizing that the void itself is sacred space. Space. It's not emptiness, it's readiness. The womb of creation is empty before it gives birth. The pause before a symphony begins is silent, yet full of anticipation. So is the scarcity in your life. It's not a sign that nothing is happening, but that something magnificent is preparing to emerge. When you stop fighting scarcity, you start hearing its wisdom. You realize that it's teaching you to value differently, to see wealth not in possessions, but in awareness. Not in what you hold, but in what holds you. The one who has learned to find joy and simplicity is already rich, because they are no longer hostage to circumstance. You begin to sense that abundance is not something you wait for, it's something you awaken to. The universe is not measuring your worth by what you have, but by how open your heart remains when you have nothing at all. And then, almost quietly, something begins to shift. The moment you stop resisting, doors begin to open in the most unexpected places. Opportunities appear not as rewards for struggle, but as natural extensions of your alignment. It's as if the divine had been waiting for you to let go of your grip, to stop clutching to control, so that it could finally place something into your hands. Because true abundance doesn't come to those who demand it. It comes to those who can hold it with reverence. Scarcity, then, becomes a kind of sacred apprenticeship. It trains your spirit to see what the eyes cannot. It humbles you just enough to make you ready for the flow that's coming. You stop asking, when will I be provided for? And start understanding, I was being prepared all along. So the next time you find yourself standing in the space between what was and what is yet to be, remember this. The emptiness you feel is not evidence of absence. It is proof that you are being made ready for something far greater, because scarcity is not the end of abundance. It is where abundance learns how to begin. There are moments in life that seem almost too precise to be coincidence. A meeting that changes your path, a delay that turns out to be protection, a sudden opportunity that feels as though it was waiting for you all along. We call these miracles, but they are really glimpses of a deeper intelligence at play, what you might call the conspiracy of divine timing. It's the way the universe moves in perfect rhythm, even when our human eyes can't yet see the pattern. When we rush, we move out of sync with that rhythm. We grow impatient, trying to force what is still forming, but divine timing is never late. It unfolds like the tide, steady, deliberate, and completely unbothered by your urgency. The universe doesn't respond to panic, it responds to alignment. And alignment comes when you learn to trust the pauses, the waiting, the moments where everything seems still. Because even then, 1,000 unseen movements are happening beneath the surface, preparing you for the exact moment when everything will click, exact moment when everything will play. Think of how an orchestra tunes before a symphony. To an untrained ear, the sound seems chaotic. Strings and brass and percussion all colliding. But the conductor knows it's not chaos, it's calibration. Each instrument is finding its frequency so that when the music begins, harmony can exist. That's what divine timing feels like. The noise, the confusion, the unpredictability. It's not disorder. It's the tuning of your life to the right frequency. You don't yet hear the melody, but soon you. Sometimes the help you're waiting for is already on its way. It's just taking a path that seems invisible. The right people, resources, and opportunities are being guided through invisible intersections, and they will arrive exactly when you are ready, not when you are desperate. Desperation blocks the flow. Readiness invites it. That's the hidden beauty of timing. It's never about waiting for the universe to move. It's about becoming the kind of person who can meet what's already in motion. There are also moments where the timing feels cruel, when you thought you were prepared, when you had the plan, when everything seemed certain, and then it all unraveled. But sometimes what looks like a breakdown is actually a redirection. A detour isn't denial, it's choreography. You were never meant to hold your breath. When you breathe out freely, whether it's love, time, kindness, or resources, you make room for the next breath to enter. That's how divine provision works. Inhale, exhale, receive, release. Each feeds the other. Each sustains the rhythm of life. When you embody that rhythm, your relationship with money, with people, with purpose, everything begins to shift. You stop seeking miracles because your very life becomes one. You stop waiting for help because you realize you are part of the help that the divine is sending into the world. And that is perhaps the most profound form of abundance, to live as both the receiver and the giver of grace, without separation between the two. Because when you finally understand this truth, something in you settles. You stop worrying about whether the flow will return because you know it's already moving through you. You no longer live in scarcity because you've realized that the source of all supply doesn't live outside you. It expresses itself as you. So don't hold back the river, trying to keep it safe. Let it move, let it give, let it breathe through your life, for the one who becomes the flow never runs dry.